So today we're going to be making this pendant, which is a Hemimorphite stone, and we're using dead soft square wire as our base wires and some 28 gauge wire for weaving, a few beads. So if you would like to see how this is made, then just keep watching. Thank you. Okay, to make this pendant, you will need flush cutters, chain nose or tweezer nose pliers, round nose pliers, and flush cutters. I've also got some 28 gauge thin round dead soft wire for weaving, 4 lengths of 12 inches each copper wire. These are square 20 gauge dead soft, and I've got about 6 inches of 22 gauge or 21 gauge would work, dead soft half round wire for connecting my square wires. And then I've got one oval stone, and this one's about 1 inch tall and 1/2 inch wide. I've also got some 4 or 5 millimeter copper beads. So to begin, we will start by connecting the 4 of our square wires with our half round wire. So you're going to place the half round wire underneath these 4, making sure the half round side is pointed up, and then we're going to start wrapping around so that the rounded side is showing and the flat side is against the wires. Okay, and we're just going to do this right in the center of our 4 wires to connect them. You just want to be sure that you're not twisting that as you go. And then I like to use my flush cutters to press them down. And then I'm going to turn it over, and with my actually that was my, not my flush cutters, this was my nylon jaw pliers. Now I'm going to use the flush cutters, and I'm going to trim off those edges right in the center and use my nylon pliers again just to press those down. And where I cut is going to be where I place these against my stone at the bottom. So then I'm going to just start gently curving my wires upward around the stone into a little U shape like this. And before I get too far, I like to turn it over to the back and just with my tweezer nose, taking this very back wire and twisting it inward so that my stone has a place to sit and won't fall out while I'm working on my design. So I just push those out, and that becomes the back. And stick my stone in there. And as you can see in the back, that keeps this from falling out. Okay, now I'm going to bring up all of my wires along each side, and on the right side I'm going to bring my top wire and I'm going to cross it over and bring it around this left side and the back, and then around to the right to connect these up at the neck. Okay, so I've got a little curve there now coming across the top right side of my stone, and that's going to help keep it from falling out the front. Okay, Then I like to separate the wires at the top. So I'm gonna have 2 coming out to the left. And these are the 2 that are coming up from the side on the left. And 2 on the right. And that will leave you with 3 in the back to make your bail. Now, I'm just going to turn it so I can work on this bail with some 28 gauge wire. And I like to do this with it off of the spool, and I'm cutting about 15 inches of 28 gauge wire. And separating out these 3, I'm going to put my wire, the end of it, in between the bottom 2 wires and just bend over the edge or the tail end. And then I'm going to wrap around the bottom wire 3 times and push it down. Then I'm going to wrap around the bottom 2 wires twice, trying to kind of keep them a little bit separated. I'm going to come up in between the bottom 2 wires, and then I'm going to go around the top 2 twice. And I'm going to repeat around the bottom 2 twice and around the top 2 twice. So coming up in between the bottom 2 to go around the top 2. And then coming up under the bottom 1 to go around the bottom 2. Okay, so that is going to be the pattern. And I'm just going to continue this until I have about an inch for my bail, so I can bend it over and make the bail. Okay, so I'm just going to continue that, 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top, and then I will be back. Okay, so I have completed about an inch of weaving, and then I've still got some tail left over, which I'm not going to cut, but I am going to cut my beginning tail off in the back. And then I'm just going to use my finger to bend these over and make a bail. And I like to use my pliers to just press those closed right at the base there. Okay. Now I'm going to separate in the back these wires. I'm going to go ahead and trim off this middle bail wire fairly short, maybe about ½ an inch there. And then I'm going to use my round nose pliers just to make a little curl, and I'm going to flip it as best I can so that it is leaning up against that bail in the back. All right, now I've got my tail, and I've got 2 wires coming out here to the right, plus 1 from my bail and the 1 that I was using to wrap around the neck, and then 2 on the left. So I'm going to take this top one on the left, and with my pliers, I'm just going to hold the end of it and start twisting the whole pendant so that I end up with a nice twisted wire. And I'm going to bring it around and shape it alongside this wire that's already coming up along the side, and then I'm going to curl it at the bottom, which means I'm going to need to cut it a bit because it's too long. And you can finish curling with your round nose pliers like that. We just kind of want it to follow along this one that's coming up already. And I'm gonna get a little piece of my half round wire, maybe 3 inches. And I'm just gonna lift up here this wire, and I'm going to place my half round with the flat side up underneath these two, kind of coming up through that loop. And I'm going to bring the end around through the loop and around those top 2 wires just a couple times. I'm going to pull it tight with my pliers. Just to keep them connected. Pull that through. Kind of close those up. And then I'm going to use my flush cutters to trim the edges off of those. And use my tweezers to kind of close those edges down. There. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead, and these 2 that were coming out from the bail, I'm going to go ahead and trim those as well, kind of short. And we can curl those inward toward the back and kind of tuck them up underneath the bail. Okay, so they're out of the way. Can't be seen from the front. And then our tail from our 28 gauge, I'm going to bring it through from the back, right through the front to the center of the front. Okay, and I've got a couple of 3mm beads that I'm going to string onto it. Let me just trim it a little bit, it's kind of long. Okay, stringing on 2 3mm beads. And then I'm going to string on 2 that I think these are 5mm. I don't have any 4, but if you have a 4mm, that would be pretty, to kind of gradually get them bigger. So now we've got 4 beads, and they're kind of coming through from the back. I'm going to push that forward just a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to turn it so that I can attach this wire to this back little brace here. Pull that through. Okay, so that these, I'm going to make it tight enough, but I don't want to break it. There. Go around a couple times. If you pull it too tight, it will break. So just pull gently. I'm going to do 3 times around that back wire and then trim it off. Okay. So one of those is kind of coming out the back. That came through, so I'm just going to push it forward. There we go. Now I'm going to bring around from the right side this one wire, and I'm just going to tuck it up underneath that last bead. So I've got, there's 4 there, but you really are only seeing 3 because one of them kind of got stuck in the middle there, which is fine. But I'm going to bring this up and around and then make a little curl going this direction and trim it off here. So it's kind of right in the center. There. But this is helping to support these beads over there. And then I'm going to bring this other one and I'm going to curl it above the beads into a little swirl and then trim it off. Okay. There we go. And this one I'm going to do from in the back. I'm just going to make a little swirl, but you should be able to see it from behind. Let me trim that off. Make a little swirl from behind that you can see peeking through. Here. Okay. And this last one, I think I'm going to make a swirl just right at the base of my bail. Make a little swooping swirl there and trim that off. Okay. And just tuck that in. And there you go. I made another one and it's similar but tiny bit different, using those beads. These ended up being a little bit more on top and coming around the bail instead of coming through the center. So that worked fine too. All right, I really like this stone, Hemimorphite. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.